Okay guys, so welcome to the start of the brand new channel, Sir Scott. This is going to be the first real video on this channel. It's the backup channel of my main channel, Scott Schaefer, which I think as of right now has 168,000 subscribers, I believe. I believe that's the total. And we're going to be covering a lot of old scams that I covered on the main channel. We're going to do follow-ups, I'm going to test out some scam products, stuff like that. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the OG cryptocurrency scam, BitConnect, because there are some exciting updates just recently. I can't believe there are still updates about this scam, which the scam went down in January of 2018. So, we got like 6 years later, 6 years later, and there's still updates on this scam. BitConnect, if you don't know, was the original massive cryptocurrency scam. This happened before CoffeeZilla even existed. He wasn't around to cover this back then. I remember covering this on my first channel. I talked about this. If you don't know what BitConnect was, it was a massive pyramid scheme. They had this whole stupid system where they said they had like a trading bot, and you would give them your crypto and they would make more money with the trading bot. But in reality, what it was just a very blatant pyramid scheme. So people would give them, you give them the money, and they claim to give you like a 1% interest return every single day forever. It was really stupid. And so basically just new people would invest money, and they would use the new people's money to pay back the old people over and over and over, right? That's how it worked. And it worked for a while because there were a lot of people talking about it, but eventually you get to the point where you have too many people already in the system that need to be paid out, and you don't have enough new people getting into the system, so you don't have enough money to pay back the old people, right? And so it was super popular through all of 2017. There were a bunch of people on YouTube who were promoting BitConnect. Grant, Trevon James, who we're going to be talking about in this video, the main part of this video. And it was hugely popular. I remember back in 2017 talking about BitConnect, and I was like, on my first channel, I wasn't very confrontational back then, and I was like, guys, I think it's kind of a scam. I think you should probably stay away from it. And there were a bunch of people who left comments on my original video talking about it. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about. BitConnect's a legitimate project. Because obviously all these people who got in early to BitConnect were making a ton of money, so they didn't want anyone spreading FUD, right, or spreading bad news, calling it a scam. But then it collapsed in January of 2018, and when it collapsed, it became a huge meme. There was Carlos from the BitConnect conference. He became a huge meme.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. What's up, BitConnect?
H3H3, before they had the podcast, they made a video that went viral. It got like millions of views talking about the BitConnect scam. I think like $2 or $3 billion was lost in that scam. So that was the first like massive cryptocurrency scam. Nowadays, it seems like we have cryptocurrency scams all the time. They haven't stopped. They've only picked up. But BitConnect was the original scam. Now I've done a bunch of videos covering this on my first channel, and on the Scott Schaefer channel I did a follow-up video. I think that was in 2023. That video did quite well on the channel, and I was talking about all of the promoters of BitConnect. And in that video, if you go back and watch that, I talk about how most of the promoters were never actually punished for, getting all these people to invest in BitConnect and losing billions and billions of dollars in the project. There was the founder of BitConnect, or the person that they believe was the founder. He was this Indian guy. And I think they initially arrested him, and then they let him out on bail or something, and he disappeared. So to this day, 6 years later, nobody knows where that guy is. A lot of people think he's in hiding in either Dubai or India or something like that. Some people think he may have been, offed by some people who lost a bunch of money in BitConnect. Nobody really knows for sure, but the BitConnect founder still on the run. But a lot of the U.S. promoters, they kind of escaped justice. I know some of them, like Ryan Hildreth and a lot of these other big promoters who were on YouTube, they were initially sued. I believe that lawsuit didn't actually go through. I think they got out of that. But most of them didn't really face any jail time, except for one guy named Glenn Arco, who was kind of I think he was involved with the company, and he was kind of head of operations in the USA. He wasn't running it, but he was kind of like the front man in the USA. The SEC took that guy to court. They cleaned him out. He had to pay back millions and millions of dollars. And I think at this point, I may actually do a video on him at some point. He's trying to change his name. He's trying to legally change his name because when you Google him, like it immediately associates him as a scammer with BitConnect. So that's really interesting. But the two main guys, Craig Grant and Trevon James, those are the guys we're going to be covering in this video. We're going to take a look at two articles from a website called Behind MLM. It's a great website. Guy covers all these scams and all these updates on different scams. But let me briefly tell you about Craig Grant and Trevon James if you're not familiar with who they are. So they were some of the biggest promoters on YouTube of BitConnect in 2017. Trevon James, he was in cryptocurrency even before BitConnect. He made a bunch of videos. He's actually been involved in a bunch of scams. And he was promoting BitConnect and showing people how much money he was making in BitConnect. And a lot of people at the time trusted him. They invested through his referral link, and he got a bunch of money through the referral link. And then, obviously they lost money. And after BitConnect failed, he had this infamous moment where he was making videos like in his car, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the SEC, they're coming after me." And he's like, "Don't worry, guys, you didn't lose your money." And he's like, "Well, technically, you kind of lost your money."
Everyone, listen up. You didn't lose your money. Now, you have your... Technically, you kind of lost your money.
Trevon James was a big clown. I think at one point CoffeeZilla interviewed him like years after the scam. But the other guy was Craig Grant, who Craig at the time was paying for these ads all over YouTube. If I can find the old clip, I'll put it up. But basically, he had this ad across YouTube where he'd be like, "This is my BitConnect wallet, and here are my 40 Bitcoin."
My name is Craig Grant. This is my Bitcoin wallet. 40 Bitcoin that I earned. I didn't buy. I earned this Bitcoin with a service called BitConnect, and I get paid to interact with the BitConnect blockchain. I don't have to buy anything. I don't have to sell anything, and it's free to sign up. And there's more. Yes, there is more. More Bitcoin. Here in my Gemini Exchange Bitcoin Exchange wallet, I currently have 20 Bitcoin that I plan to cash out to US dollars.
So that guy was spending probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. He later admitted that the company BitConnect was paying him to run those ads on YouTube. But those two guys, they received a lot of heat after BitConnect failed, but ultimately nothing ever happened to them. The SEC investigated, they talked to them, they kind of grilled them a little bit, but nothing really happened all that much. But then it seemed like things started to pick up. Craig Grant actually fled the country, went to a different country to hide out. But they eventually found him years later. And now it looks like, through these two articles, I'm going to show you, the SEC has finally charged these guys. And they're like, "Hey, you need to pay back millions of dollars for your involvement in this cryptocurrency scam." It's hard to believe that 6 years later, after the scam is finally over, the SEC's finally like, "Hey, we're going to get off our asses and do something. You guys got to pay us a shit ton of money for promoting this scam to all your followers." So let's go ahead and take a look at these two articles. The first one came out in mid-September. It says, SEC reveals 6.1 million Craig Grant and Trevon James judgments. Following certificates of default entered against Craig Grant and Trevon James in late August, the SEC has filed proposed orders against the BitConnect Ponzi promoters. The SEC's proposed order was filed on September 16th. The order is granted, allows for Grant and James to show cause as to why default judgment should not be granted against them. In addition to permanent injunctions issued against Grant and James, prohibiting further acts of securities fraud, default judgment orders would see them liable for $2.6 million and $3.5 million respectively. Broken down for Craig Grant, this comes to $1.7 million in disgorgement, $700,000 in prejudgment interest, and $230,000 civil penalty. And for Trevon James, $2.3 million in disgorgement, $939,000 in prejudgment interest, and $230,000 civil penalty. At time of publication, approval of the SEC proposed order remains pending. If the proposed order is granted, Grant and James will have till October 18th to respond. In 2019, James claims he would be unable to pay back $2 million the SEC brought up in a phone call with him. At the time, James was driving around in a new at the time James was driving around in a new BMW SUV and had just purchased land to build a house on. In since deleted YouTube videos, James was also asking for advice on investing $1 million into real estate. Guys, I'm going to show you in the next article. Initially, I thought that that Trevon James like knew this was a scam, and he just didn't care. He was just like playing stupid, like, oh, I didn't know, guys. I didn't know that people lost money. But looking deeper into these articles, I legitimately think that Trevon James is just really fucking stupid. I legitimately, I'll show you in the next article. I just think this guy is a complete idiot and didn't realize at all that he was involved in a scam. Now, I'm not saying like that doesn't clear him of what he did. He obviously did something wrong. But I just think he's just a complete dumbass and just didn't really understand what was going on. But let's finish this article. Craig Grant fled the U.S. for Jamaica, which I mentioned. Over the past few years, Grant has spent money renovating a sprawling family property northwest of Alberta town. Okay, so both of these guys, I remember back in 2018, after the BitConnect scam, both of these guys claimed that their BitConnect, their Bitcoin wallets had been hacked and they lost all their crypto. Both of these fools put out these videos and like, oh guys, I lost all my money. I'm sorry. I won't be able to help you out or anything because I was hacked, right? But then both of these idiots, these absolute idiots, started like throwing around a bunch of money in real life, right? So Grant moved to Jamaica. He bought a property, renovated everything. Trevon James was driving around a BMW talking about investing $1 million. It just blows my mind that these idiots were like, yeah, I can spend a crap ton of money, claim to my fans I'm broke, and they'll just all buy it. Nobody's buying it, right? The SEC, they took their damn time, but these guys, they eventually came after these guys, and they're going to have to pay up now. Now, neither of these guys paid the money that the SEC was like, hey, you got to give us money. Neither of them paid it. So in the second article, which came out about a month ago, it goes over Trevon James and how he's trying to get out of paying the SEC for what he owes them, right? And it's, like I said, this article, I initially thought this guy was just like playing dumb. At this point, I think this guy is just an absolute idiot. He just, from the responses I'll show you, this guy does not seem intelligent at all right? So it says, Trevon James tells court he can't pay BitConnect fines. Came out November 21st. After failing to respond to an SEC lawsuit filed against him, Trevon James has asked court to set aside a recorded entry of default. In a 6-page October 18th filed pre-SAR letter, James has also informed the court he doesn't have the Bitcoin to liquidate in order to pay these fines. The SEC has all the videos of the dude, drive around in his sweet BMW, talking about wanting to invest $1 million. They know you have a bunch of money, dude. Like, you're not going to get out of this. They're going to take you down. You're not an intelligent person that you posted about all your wealth, and then you're like, oh, sorry, I can't pay now. They're going to go after you, bro. So James, who identifies himself as Trevon Brown, married and a father of 3, claims being sued by the SEC is the worst thing that ever happened to me. Oh, you poor guy. You poor guy. If you hadn't been involved in a scam, if you haven't promoted this to all your followers and, potentially thousands or hundreds of thousands of people lost money by investing with your affiliate link, the SEC wouldn't have come after you. They didn't come after you just because they don't like you. It's because you promoted a scam to people. So you need to look inward and realize, hey, I made some huge mistakes. Don't blame the SEC. Blame yourself for being a dumbass, Mr. James, Mr. Trevon Brown. So it says, BitConnect was a multi-billion MLM crypto Ponzi that James, as a top promoter, is accused of stealing millions through. Even after BitConnect's fraud was laid out in court and its executives indicted and sent to prison, James maintains his experience with BitConnect was great. I'm blown away that this idiot was like, yeah, my time with the scam, that scam company, it was great, guys. I had a blast, made a bunch of money, fun time. I loved my time with BitConnect. I don't know why you would ever admit to that. If you want people to feel sympathy for you, be like, yeah, BitConnect, they were a terrible company. I'm sorry I couldn't see it at the time, But looking back, I don't know why I ever participated with those horrible, horrible people. But no, he's like, it was great. Great. I had a great time in BitConnect. I don't know. Fun time. To that end, the SEC sued James and several other BitConnect promoters in 2021. At the request of the SEC, the court clerk recorded an entry of default against James on August 26, 2024. In September 2024, the SEC revealed default judgment payments against James totaling $3.5 million. States James Wright in his letter to the court, he said, so this is his words, "Looking back, there is no question that this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. Nobody cares. This guy doesn't understand at all that people listened to him and they lost a crap ton of money. And he's just like, guys, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. Feel bad for me." I'm blown away at how stupid this guy is. The SEC charge of BitConnect ruined my life and my reputation in the cryptocurrency space. To my fans, I was the funny crypto enthusiast who enjoys the technology and just loves to chat and make jokes about it, all while trying to predict the direction the crypto space is going. All of that has been torn apart, and I find it hard to do what I do best with the life path I choose of being a video production personality. Now I'm that scammer guy, the BitConnect scammer. BitConnect! Hey, hey, hey! What's up, BitConnect? If you are unfamiliar with the last three quotes, those are jokes that are said indefinitely online to the people who participated. Whether it be financial loss or reputation, I still to this day have to deal with the comments online and in public who have to remind me that I'm now considered a scammer, even though I never took anything from anyone. Now, at this point of his response, when I was first reading this, I just thought, like, this guy is in denial. He's just trying to pass the blame to someone else. But as you continue to read, my opinion of him changed, and I just think that he's legitimately stupid. He doesn't seem to understand that he was involved in a scam. He doesn't seem to understand that people lost money because of the advice that he gave. He talked about it repeatedly. And just because he didn't steal money from people directly, he's like, I don't understand why they'd come after me. Because you promoted a scam. You said, guys, invest in BitConnect. It's a great service. People invested in BitConnect. They lost a crap ton of money. You made money. I don't understand why you don't get why they would come after you for that. He can't take any responsibility for his actions. Instead of acknowledging the victims he stole from, James has to cry to the court over his YouTube career being devastated. Now for the average person, sure, it's just a little online bullying that could be ignored, but for me, someone who is trying to have a career in reporting on cryptocurrency, this has been very damaging. And to be known as the BitConnect scammer when you Google my real first name and middle name is mortifying. I've never scammed anyone in my life. I did not know BitConnect would end like it did because I had never seen anything like the collapse of BitConnect before in my life. I didn't even learn about what the SEC was until I had to learn what a subpoena was. I'm not at the corporate level, so it was all new to me and I've learned a lot. BitConnect collapsed in January 2018, wiping $2.4 billion of the BCC Ponzi token across 10 days. James goes on to argue that the SEC's case against him should be dismissed in its entirety because the BitConnect Ponzi scheme is just like Bitcoin. I'm not defending the creators of BitConnect because I don't know them or their intentions. But BitConnect is mined, just like Bitcoin is mined. And Bitcoin has gotten the pass from the SEC as not a security. So based on that alone, I think this case against me should be dismissed. Now, what I have to say about that, I know a lot of people think all cryptocurrency is a scam, but BitConnect was a very blatant Ponzi scheme, pyramid scheme. They had a pyramid on their actual page, right? It was very clear to anyone who spent a minute researching the project is this was controlled by a company and they had created this coin, right? And they were just paying people out because the coin you could transfer for actual Bitcoin, the BitConnect coin to Bitcoin. And it was a very blatant pyramid scheme where they were just using the money from the new investors to pay back the old investors. Now, I know some people, like I said, a lot of people think all of cryptocurrency is a scam, but BitConnect was way more of a scam than Bitcoin, if you want to say that. Despite the SEC not filing charges against BitConnect until 3 years after its collapse, James blames the SEC's 2021 filed lawsuit for BitConnect's 2018 collapse. Note that there are no editorial errors in that last sentence. BitConnect collapsed after the SEC charged it because the holder of the coin sold it off heavily and never looked back. The losses in BitConnect were the result of the SEC. This is Trevon's word. The losses in BitConnect were the result of the SEC scaring participants out. The rules laws the SEC is using to charge me are ancient laws from the 1940s. Television was barely a thing when these laws were put in place, let alone computers or internet. So again, this guy is an idiot. I remember covering this back in 2018. So and one of the most nefarious things of BitConnect was how they lied to creators. So a lot of scams, when they rug pull, when they leave, they just peace out and they're gone, right? BitConnect, when they went under, they put out this letter claiming that the reason they were shutting down is because states were claiming that they were a scam and it was hurting their business. Now, the SEC didn't go after BitConnect in 2018 like Trevon is claiming because he's a moron. He doesn't remember correctly. I remember it was the state of Texas, specifically the state of Texas, issued a cease and desist to BitConnect. Hey, you need to not allow your website in our state. You can't operate in our state at all. You're a scam. We don't want anything to do you. So it was the state of Texas, and there was some other, I think another country around the world. But it wasn't the SEC. The SEC did not go after BitConnect until 2021. And this moron was like, yeah, BitConnect shut down in 2018 because the SEC was going after them. So he does not remember at all correctly what happened. But the fact that BitConnect used like Texas going after them, like, guys, that's why we're closing shop. It's because these states are going after. The state is going after us particularly. That wasn't the case at all. They shut down because they ran out of money. For the record, the Securities and Exchange Act was ratified in 1933. What this has to do with James violating U.S. securities law through BitConnect is unclear. Securities are securities, regardless of the medium they are offered through. Despite professing his innocence, James does appear capable of recognizing his fraud. Days or weeks pass, and I get a letter from the SEC. This period is very blurry for me to recall because it was so long ago and new to me at the time. But I eventually got a subpoena to come testify as a witness to the case against BitConnect in New York and was asked to see all my wallets and transactions. During the interview, I answered all questions up until they started to play back to me some of my videos, where I started to say things in the video that I could see could be taken out of context in order to use what I said in those videos against me. One particular part was when I said people had lost money. Being unsure of their angle for asking me about why I said that, I applied my right to remain silent. 5 pages into James' letter, we get to the relevant legal point, albeit with James' continued fundamental misunderstanding of the securities fraud he had been charged with. I didn't realize I had a deadline to respond. Or I would have, because I always have. So I'm writing to ask you to end this case because I don't have the Bitcoin to liquidate in order to pay these fines. As far as disgorgement, they are asking me to pay them essentially the amount of Bitcoin that was hacked from me, which is outrageous and cruel because they know I don't have it. And even if I have proof, I don't have it in their own, and even have proof I don't have it in their own documents. It's worth noting that since BitConnect's collapse, James purchased a house in South Carolina, a BMW luxury SUV. In August 2019, James asked his YouTube channel viewers for advice on investing in $1 million. On his YouTube channel, James is also, of course, continued to document and promote his investments into numerous fraudulent crypto investment schemes. How can I pay back what I don't have? And how do any of us know I need to pay anything back if there are no laws for cryptocurrency? Just because some early crypto enthusiast decided to call blockchain ledgers currency, the SEC gets to enforce monetary laws onto what are literally spreadsheets? Each blockchain is a spreadsheet copied to thousands of computers in a decentralized manner so that it can't be deleted. They didn't know these would exist in the 1940s. We need laws for crypto, and hopefully this case, along with others going on right now with the SEC, can help us as a country come together with new rules and regulations for this new technology. I've already paid for this through my reputation and stress over the past 7 years. That's not how that works, Trevon James. The stress you accumulated from people calling you a scammer is not enough for the millions of dollars people potentially lost signing up for BitConnect under you. If you see that dismissing this case is not justice, please extend the case and have me show you the proof that you need to see to dismiss it. I wouldn't mind speaking with you face to face at a trial, which I think is better than this anyway, because I'm sure you have questions for me. I have no problem with being barred from participating in securities because I've never done that anyway. And for the disgorgement, the only way I could pay this is if the FBI truly has my BTC. I was irresponsible in not getting representation earlier, and when I've tried to get representation, everyone I asked said they aren't qualified for this type of case or it's too far along at this point. I trust that you see what's actually going on here between me and the SEC. After all, I started out as a witness at the time. The SEC filed its response to James' letter on October 29th. In its response, the SEC acknowledged James' request to move to dismiss its complaint. The regulator also laid out why Brown's request was meritless. Can you believe that? So an update, which was on December 15th, it says Trevon James has not filed a motion to dismiss. Instead, a telephone conference was held on December 9th, leading to what will likely be a settlement between James and the SEC. As per two orders issued after the conference, pursuant to the telephonic conference held today, December 9th, a follow-up conference is scheduled for Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. The clerk of court is directed to attempt to locate pro bono counsel to represent Mr. Brown for the limited purpose of the settlement. So there you go, guys. It looks like, at least Trevon James, sorry, having a little issues with my voice. It looks like Trevon James is probably going to have to pay a bunch of money. Now, he's claiming he doesn't have the money to pay, but he has that very nice BMW, I think it was. He's buying some property. I think that he's going to get taken to the cleaner. That's my opinion. Now, there aren't any updates about Craig Grant. He's the guy who fled to Jamaica. And I do think at this point, because they're continuing with the case, obviously, the law moves very, very slowly. But at this point, I do think that Craig Grant, he's probably going to... He's going to be in big trouble. I don't know that he'll go to jail for this, but I feel like he's escaped the law long enough, and I think at this point the walls are starting to close down on him, and I think both these guys are going to be in very serious trouble. So there you go. There's an update on the whole BitConnect saga. It's pretty crazy that it's been like 6 years since the collapse of BitConnect. And the SEC is still going after these people. They should have ended years ago. They should have been thrown in jail, in my opinion, for what they did. But it looks, at least at this point, these guys will finally be brought to justice. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think about Trevon James and Craig Grant finally have settlements against them for millions of dollars by the SEC? Do you think the SEC will ever get that money? Do you think they'll throw them in jail, or what do you think is going to happen in this case? Let me know in the comments below.